Good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating today. Today is a very unique topic, VideoGuard connectivity. Um, the idea behind this training is to give you that fundamental idea behind the behind how to connect our Wisenet system to VideoGuard. What is the procedure? What is the minimum requirements? What is the guidelines? I have tried to make it as much elaborate as possible. With every step, I've included a video to make it as clear as possible. And it took a couple of weeks to prepare this presentation. So, and this is our first session. We will continue to have more depending on the feedback. And I hope you find this training very useful. So this topic slides were developed by myself, Samuel. I'm the training manager for Hanwha TechWin, Middle East and Africa. And it could not be done without our colleagues, Ganesh, who's the pre-sales manager handling UAE region, and also Sudeep from Samcom. Their contribution was great to develop the slides. All right. So first question is Hanwha TechWin VMS or Hanwha TechWin system, is it CIRA approved? First question is yes. The answer is yes. As you know, it is CIRA is there is a website where all the approved list is posted. You will find Hanwha TechWin listed here, and you will find this particular version number, SSM version number. It might not match with your probably your NVR or DVR, but you find Hanwha TechWin listed here. So we will we'll go forward and explain how to connect your NVR or DVR using the VMS to VideoGuard system. Okay. The current version is 2.10.5. There are updated version that is in progress to be approved with CIRA. So you will see 2.10.7 in the coming weeks. All right, let's go ahead. So initial preparation, again to emphasize is you should have a Hanwha product. It could be a Hanwha or Wisenet DVR, or it could be a NVR, or it could be our PRP server, Hanwha server, Windows server, or it could be your own Dell server with Hanwha VMS installed already. Okay, so it could be any of these combination. You can connect to VideoGuard CIRA system. And the equipment that is required from the CIRA side is the 4-port device. There are 8 and 16 port. It is not required in our scenario. Okay, it could be, doesn't matter how many DVR you have, it doesn't matter how many NVRs you have, you always need a 4-port device alone from VideoGuard. You might have noticed there is a text here, DVR with SSM VMS. So that is the key point. Your DVRs or NVRs will talk to VideoGuard through the VMS. Okay, that's why VMS is certified with VideoGuard. So all your DVRs will be connected to a central PC, and that central PC will have a system installed, and it will talk to VideoGuard CIRA. Next. So there are 3 scenarios. The first scenario is you could have a small project with just 1 NVR or 2 DVRs or 1 or 2 NVRs or just a few number of DVRs or NVRs. All right, that's it. That's all you have. In this case, you need to arrange one PC. So you need to arrange a PC and install SSM on. The PC spec is i7 16GB RAM. If you have budget, you can buy server operating system. However, it's not mandatory. Or another type of project where medium scale, large scale projects where you have multiple NVRs, let's say 10 NVR, 64 channel. So that is 600 cameras. In that case, most likely you will have a central server with SSM installed, and you will have multiple client PCs in such projects. In this scenario, you would install the SSM, the approved SSM in the central server. All right, you would install the approved SSM in the central server. because you already have it, you don't have to arrange for another PC. It's not required. Okay. There is another scenario where you are buying your own HP, Dell recording servers, right? Something like Jet. You're buying your own recording server and you have purchased SSM licenses. Okay. In that scenario, again, you already have the server with you, and hence you don't need to buy additional PC. You don't need to buy additional hardware. You need to just make sure the SSM which is installed in those servers is matching the approved version. Okay, so let's summarize. So if you have a NVR or DVR, and that's all you have to arrange one PC. The key point is there needs to be a PC with SSM installed to talk to Sira. Second scenario, if you have multiple NVRs with one central server with SSM installed or one or more, and you have multiple client PCs, you already have a PC, and in this scenario, you don't need to buy additional PC, just install the approved version number. Similarly, here in Wisenet PRP servers, they are all Windows based. So again, you already have a server PC, just make sure you have the approved version number. The first one, you did not have a Windows PC, that's why you arranged it. Okay. Now, where to download the correct approved version? So there is a link, a Google Drive link, where the approved version is already uploaded. There are 5 files, and 5 total files, but they are categorized as 3 major files. Okay, file 1, file 2, file 3. So file 1 is your main SSM server, file 2 is the VideoGuard web client, and file 3 is console client. Okay, so in your scenario with your DVR or NVR and you have arranged a PC, so in this scenario, you will install all the files 1, 2, 3. So going forward, we will refer to file 1, 2, 3. So you will install all files in the PC that you arranged. Okay, done. After this, you can go directly to 3.1 step or 3.2 step if you have NVR to check the wiring, to check the connectivity. Now, for projects which is a medium scale, so let's say you're listening to this webinar, you focus only on what project you have in mind, right? So if your focus is on project with just 1 or 2 NVR, focus on this type of slide more. If your focus is on multiple NVRs and one server and client, then focus on this. Okay. So here also you will download all the files, but you will not install everything in one. You will split. You will segregate. In the server, you will install file 1 and 2. Okay, core and VideoGuard web client you will install in the main server, and in all the client PCs you will install the file 3. If you have multiple clients, install file 3 alone. All right, that's the step. For projects using Dell servers with SSM already or PRP servers, in this case, in the server you will install file 1 and 2, and in all the client PCs you will install file 3. Now there could be a sub scenario where the customer might have more than one server, recording server. I'm not talking about NVR, I'm talking about recording Windows servers. So in that scenario, only the first server you will install file 1 and 2, the core and the web client. In the second server, only install the core server, not the web client, right? And so on. The first one where you have installed both file 1 and 2, going forward it will be called the main server, which is going to talk to Sira, because file 2 is the VideoGuard web client. So wherever you install 1 and 2, that's your main server, which will be talking to your Sira portal. All right, so this part was clarified. And before you do any installation, just a minute. Okay, so before you do any installation, it is good to take a backup of your current SSM configuration. for your safety, and it's always a recommended procedure, right? So you can take backup by this is not applicable if you're going to install for the first time. This is applicable if you're already having a server with SSM installed. You can go ahead and take a backup. Under configuration, you can go to maintenance and click on configuration backup, and that's it. All right, now let's go ahead and check the connectivity. So first step is you have to arrange a PC to install SSM, right? Now, what about how to connect your NVRs to the VideoGuard device? So in all the scenario, you will be required to purchase a dedicated switch, and it should be 1 Gbps switch, which is connected to the fourth port number 4 of VideoGuard device. Okay, you'll be purchasing a 1 gig per port switch, and it will be connected to the fourth port of the VideoGuard device. Now, in your scenario where you have DVRs connected to analog cameras, the IP port from the DVR will go and connect to the VideoGuard switch. All right, and the SSM PC which you purchased will also be connected to the VideoGuard switch. If you have more client PCs, it is optional. If you have, it will also connect to the same VideoGuard switch. So we will call this as the VideoGuard switch. This is not supplied by VideoGuard. This is supplied by your side. It's a local purchase. What you purchase from VideoGuard is the EG device. Okay. So port 4 is mentioned here for your reference. If you have NVRs, it could be standard NVR connected to the switch, to the camera, or if you have a PoE NVR, it's fine. In this scenario, there will be 2 cables coming out of the NVR, one for the cameras, another will go to the VideoGuard switch. And that another port is called the viewer port, which we will see where it is. Then later on, the SSM PC, which you arranged, will also connect to the VideoGuard switch. If you have additional clients, you can install the console app and VideoGuard connect to the VideoGuard switch. All right. So the note here is you have to connect the viewer port. Behind every NVR DVR, there are some NVRs have 4 ports. At the bottom, you can see there are 4 ports. Some have 2 ports. Maybe some DVR has 1 port. In that scenario, you will connect the, if it has 1 port, of course, you will connect that port. But if you have more than 1, look for the viewer port. So here, network port 3 is a viewer port. So port number 3, whichever is labeled, that you connect to the VideoGuard switch. If you have 2 ports, the second port connect to the VideoGuard switch. All right. What about the other port? The camera port is the one which is connected to the camera recording to take the camera stream to record, and the viewing for VideoGuard guys, it will go through the VideoGuard port. In the scenario where you have multiple NVRs and a central server, it's also the same concept. You have multiple NVRs. All of them are connected to the switch. Same viewer port connects to the VideoGuard switch. You have the server, in this case is connected to the VideoGuard switch, and client PCs are also connected to the VideoGuard switch. So in the server, you have installed file 1 and 2. Separate clients, you will install the console app. All right, there's the last option where large projects where you have usually 500 plus cameras. You might see this scenario where you have multiple servers. You know, it could be HP server, or it could be Dell server, or multiple PRP servers from Hanwha. In this scenario, the already you have connected your cable to your camera network switch. So take let's say port 1 from the server and connect it to your VideoGuard switch. So 2 cables, one for your camera network, one for your VideoGuard network. So the takeaway here is, if you are buying your own server, make sure it has 2 network ports. and and if it is NVR scenario, it is from our side, so it will have a network port to connect to the VideoGuard switch. Okay. All right. So these are the basic steps, fundamentals of preparing your site. Rest is all software level configuration only, right? So if the wiring is done, everything should go very smooth. So what going forward, you don't have to separate between NVR and DVR much. It is almost the same step for all the scenarios. So step number one, once you have set up your PC connected to the VideoGuard switch, you install the file 1 and file 2, right? So file 1, we are installing file 1, the core server. Download the file, install it. It's a basic next step, nothing much to do. So I'm installing the SSM server, and the file name is SSM server version 2.10.5. So once installed, on the desktop you will find an app. It will be restarting anyway. After that, you'll find an app called SSM Service Manager. That means if you find it, it is good. And once you open, you'll find 2 services started. So that means your installation was so far successful. Okay. Next, you will install the hotfix file, which is part of the server. It's a very basic step. Just click next, continue, and that's it. It will install within a second, and then you can close. Done. So this is a hotfix file, because I said there are 5 files, right? Core hotfix, console app, console hotfix, and VideoGuard web client, web server. Okay. Then in the same PC, now we need to install your VideoGuard web client application, which you have downloaded from the drive. Okay, so that installation is done. Then step number 3 is the console app. Console app is also very important. Only through this app you can configure the SSM. In scenario 1, where you had just a couple of NVRs, you will install the console also on the same app, same PC. If you have a separate client PC, then you install the console in the separate PC. Okay. So file number 3, console client, I'm going to run and install this as well. So once installation is done, you will find a new desktop application called SSM console. You can open that. Right. So this is your SSM console. Yeah. So this part is done. Next is install the console hotfix. Very simple step. Just open the hotfix file, run it, and click next, and close. No need to restart for a console. Okay. All right. Some other basic steps that you have to do is in your main server PC, right, where you installed your SSM server and the VideoGuard web client. In that PC, you need to make sure the date and time is in a specific format expected by the Jira. So it's a Windows step. You right click on your bottom right date and time and click adjust date and time. and then make sure your year format is YY, YY, MM, and DD. So you go ahead and click date, time, regional setting. Again, come down and say change time format, and make sure it is matching what is specified here. So two key things: short date, short time should be year, year, month, month, day, date format, and the date time should be hour, hour, minute, minute format. I will be sending the slides as well for your references. I'm recording the session, so you can follow the same step. Next is let's log into the SSM. So once you open the SSM app, right, on the settings, so let me play that slide once again. So you see a settings button here. So you have to click on the settings to log into that server. So the reason why this step is important is in a scenario where you have client installed on a separate PC, if your client is installed, the console is installed here, the console has to talk to the server, right? So you have to put the IP address of the server. So that's why you have to click on the settings. And then I'm going to type in the IP address of my server. So currently my server is 192.168.01.33, and I will give it a name, main server or RS1, recording server 1. And then initially there is no password, so it will ask me to set up the initial password. The password should be a combination of capital letter, small letter, number, and symbol. Okay, so go ahead, enter that, and apply. So once you have logged in, you should see the interface, SSM interface. You will probably be in the monitoring interface. However, you can, it's fine as long as you log in. So far, everything is successful. Next step, once you have logged in, on the top, there is a plus button. Click on that plus button and then select configuration. Okay, so we are going to adjust the SSM servers time settings. So SSM server should be synced with the time from Sira NTP server, right? So for this procedure, you have to set up manually what is the NTP server address in the SSM configuration. So go ahead, click configuration, then click time setup, enable act as a time server, then click on, enter manual input, put the IP address of the NTP server provided by Sira. So this is the IP address currently used by Sira. You can enter this IP address. Now, what is the idea behind this? The idea behind this is Sira's time should be running, should match with your server time. If Sira is 5 p.m., your server also should be 5 p.m. If your server is 5 p.m., your cameras will also be 5 p.m. Right? Just like all our mobile phones have the same time. So this NTP setting will allow you to achieve that function. You know, your watch, each of your watch may be different time because no one is syncing the watch to a central server, but all your phones are having the same time because Etisalat is syncing the time for all of us. Same way, here Sira is going to sync the time for all the servers in across the projects. So we are going to sync with Sira NTP server. Next is you will create VideoGuard users. SSM by default there is an admin user, but only one user can log in at a time, right? 1 minute. All right. So only one person can log in at a time. So there is one admin user. So you cannot have another person logging in as admin. That is not possible. So since Sira expectation is they want to remotely log in and get live video playback, right? So they need a username. So we are going to create a username called VideoGuard1 for their live view playback purpose. Then there is another application which is expected by Sierra, is a web service application, um, which will send alarm data. So that also requires a username and password. So we are going to create another username, VideoGuard2. Okay. Um, so this username and password you will generate through the SSM console. You will go to configuration, and on the left side menu you will find under system user. So go to user and create your username password. Some of you already know this kind of steps, but some of you don't know. So we will cover as much as possible every single step. So click on the user and make sure they are under the admin group. So they have all privileges as expected by them. And then you can use the same VideoGuard1, same password, capital letter, small letter, number, symbol. Okay, you can create that. Okay, done. Once you have created the username and password, there is a default setting in SSM that the password will automatically expire after 30 days. So that means you have to change the password, which you don't want, right? You don't want to change the settings and redo the configuration every 30 days. So what you need to do is make sure password expiry is disabled. Okay, so disable password expiry under the maintenance menu. Next step is this is important mostly when you use NVRs. So traditionally what customers do is if they have NVR, they will give camera names in the NVR, right? Currently that is fine if you don't have Sierra, but since Sierra is involved, you need to do the naming in SSM, because SSM is the one talking to the Sierra portal, so or the VideoGuard device. So you need to do the naming through the SSM. So SSM has a feature to absorb the name from NVR. However, that is not supported when you need to connect to Sierra. So you have to disable that function called name set by device. It is done by clicking on the configuration settings button on the top right. You can see a top right settings button. Click on that. And here you will see name set by device. By default it is disabled, and if it is enabled, if you've already configured a project, you have to disable it and redo the name. Okay, done. So this step is done. Since you have installed a VMS, all VMSs require license, but SSM is free to use if you have a Hanwha recorder such as Wisenet NVRs, DVRs, PRN, XRN, those kind of NVRs. You can use SSM for free. The free word is a free license which you have to register in our website. You will get it on the same time. You have to activate that free license, right? If you don't activate, up to 45 days, you will not see any kind of issue, because the SSM, when you install for the first time, there is a trial period for 45 days, but after 45 days, the trial license will expire. So you have to activate the free license. So in this video, you will see how to get a free license when you use NVR or DVR. However, if you have HP or Dell server, you would be purchasing camera license, right? So if you've already purchased camera license, do not worry about this step. Again, let me repeat, if you have Dell server, HP server, and you already purchased camera license, do not worry about this particular step. This is only for those who have NVR, DVR from Wisenet. So it is from our website. You go to our website, click under data center menu, SSM license, then select viewer license request, put in the details, camera number, name, and all that. Main detail is your email address, because that's where your product key will be emailed. Okay, so license has been submitted. I will quickly show you immediately. It has been emailed, so I'm going to open my email account, and you will see the product key has been emailed to me. The model number is 00. Okay, done. So you need to activate this license. Activation procedure is simple. There are two ways to activate. If you have internet, very fast. If you don't have internet, what you can do is install the SSM File 3 console in your laptop and give hotspot, connect to the server, and activate the license and take it off. So you can do that. There is an offline method which I will show. There is a video, but we will not go through the video because to save time. So the online method, how it is done is under the configuration, you will see under system license, click on the license, select the server. Then at the bottom, you will find something known as online activation. There is a button called online activation. Click on this. And you remember the email which we got with the product ID, copy that email ID. I mean, copy the product key and then paste it. Okay, select the server, paste it, and then apply. So activating the license, if you have a purchase license, like say camera licenses, you don't have NVR, you have Dell server, or you have PRP or non-PRP service or HP service. If you have purchase license, you can use the same method to activate your paid license. If you have NVR DVR, you can get your free license and activate this method. Okay, done. So finished. So you're successful. Just wait for 2 seconds once you click activate, and that should be it. For offline method, there's a video which I will send it to you. You can view it later on. Okay. Now in this this step is if you have more than one server. So if you have NVR or DVR in just one PC, you can skip this. But if you have a large project with more than one server, for example, if you have multiple servers, right, like which looks like this, or multiple servers which looks like this, multiple recording servers. In this case, all the servers belong to one project, so you have to cluster them. However, if you do have just one SSM, if you have just one server, then it's fine. You don't need to cluster anything. If you have more than one, you need to do clustering. So I will show you how to do clustering. So click on configuration under domain. You have to say to click add server manually and put in the IP address of your second server. Now what is the second server? The same thing. Install SSM core. Do not install VideoGuard client or something. Just the core, and make sure it has an IP address. Enter the IP address, username, password, and that's it. You can cluster it. Now, usually for these kind of projects, we recommend that you attend our monthly trainings. We are conducting monthly training on how to configure cameras, how to configure SSM, how to configure NVR, how to configure how to do licensing and all that, and also theory training how to design. It is posted on our website. You can also get in touch with me. You can get the full training on this step. But those who already know the step, this is just like a revision or one of the steps which you have to follow in this VideoGuard configuration journey. Okay, done. Next is how will it look once you have so here I have a lot of servers. For example, I have here around 10 recording servers. So this is how it will look. All 10 will be clustered. Okay. All right. Again, in this step, this is once you have clustered and once you have added your server name change and once you have got your date and time correct, password is all is disabled, everything is done, you can add your NVR and DVR to this SSM. How to add is straightforward. At the bottom, there is the add NVR button. You click and then it will automatically discover all the NVRs. enter the username and password for the NVR and you can add it. Right? If you don't have NVR, this is not part of your step. Okay. Now comes the critical steps. First one is you have to name all your recording units. What is a recording unit? Your NVR and DVR is a recording unit. If you have recording servers, those are your recording units. So you have to name them in a sequence or in the same sequence which you have submitted to Sierra during your project, or in their portal during your approval stage, initial approval stage. You would have submitted saying, I have 2 recording servers in my project, each is having maybe 80 cameras. So you would have already submitted that. So you have to follow the same method. You have to rename. So let's say server 1 has 70 cameras, server 2 has 80 cameras. You have to rename here. The one which is having 70 cameras, you have to rename as RS1, and the one having 80 cameras, you have to rename RS2. Okay. Renaming is you can follow your own method also, but the idea is it should be logical, like R1, RS1, R-1. So you can follow any method. It just has to make sense. Even the cameras, it should be renamed in a logical manner. If the camera belongs to server 2, let's say here, it belongs to recording server 2 or NVR2, the camera should start with the letter R2, recording 2, or RS2, then camera 001 if you have the 500 plus cameras. If you have only 10 cameras or 20 cameras, you can say camera 01. Right? So this method is required because later on there is a step where you have to map. You have to check the mapping. So unless you have server number and camera number, you cannot map by just saying P3 corridor, P3 staircase. There are 2 cameras with P3 staircase. There's no way you can understand and map the correct camera. So that is why you need to have numbers so you can map it properly. So let me give you an example. If you have mapped it wrong and Sierra guys want to do an investigation on your P3 corridor entrance camera, and if you mapped it to some other camera, they will get staircase. So then that will not be appreciated. Okay, so that is why this numbering and mapping is important.
So before we go to the next slide, you have to log into the VideoGuard portal. You can see that address on the PowerPoint. Then once you log into the portal, go to My Customer, search for your customer name, which is your project name, or search by the license number of the project. After that, select it and click Edit. On the top right, you will see the Edit button. Click on Edit. And then um, select the mode. Okay, you can click update customer information, and then on the bottom you can see select VMS mode. You need to enable this. It's a very important step. And below that you can see the VideoGuard device. You can drop down and select the VideoGuard device and then save it. Once you have saved, you should be able to see the list of IP addresses that VideoGuard device is able to assign to your recorders and VMS. If you remove the main server will always be ending with IP address .130, and the remaining IP addresses are for the recorders or other recording servers. If you have 5 NVRs, you should see 5 IP addresses, 131, 132, and so on. So after this, you can go to the next slide and you can see how to start the MAC binding and proceed further.
All right, finally, now let's go to the VideoGuard portal, log in with your credentials that has been provided to you. Once you log in, on the top there is a menu which keeps going on a hide mode, but you can put your mouse over and you'll find under uh, dashboard, you will find map. Click on map and enter your site name, uh, project name, hotel name, or number. It could be the license number of that site. You can search by that, and on the bottom click VMS. Once you click VMS, you will see you will be required to add your you will be required to bind your server. Okay, so this is taken from the VideoGuard site, how to bind. So you'll find you'll find your VMS server. Click on settings, Mac binding settings. Okay, make sure you are on the VMS, and once you do that, uh, select port number 4 and enter the MAC address of your SSM main PC. Okay, do not bind the wrong server, wrong recorder. The main PC is the one where you install file 1 and 2. Okay, you have to bind it. Once you have done, it will show success. Okay, done. So how to find MAC address? It's very simple. You just go to your network sharing center, Ethernet, click details. You'll find your physical address. Or there is another way: is click CMD and find the MAC address, ipconfig method. Okay. So next, since you have done with your adding your VMS, the main PC, you can go ahead and get the list of recorders connected to the VMS. So what do I mean by that? If you have multiple NVRs, you will be getting the NVR list. You will be getting adding your NVRs. If you have multiple servers, you will get multiple servers. So that is the second step. Okay. So on the main VMS PC, enter the username and password credentials, and enter the port number, TCP port and HTTP port, and there is a button here called is active. You select yes, and first you save it. Okay, before you get recorder list, first you have to save it, because without saving, you cannot log into the portal through the username and get the recorder list. So first you save, and then click get device recorder list. And you should say green button. Everything successful so far. Okay, done. Now this is a snapshot that we talked about. The username VideoGuard1. This is the first username which we created. TCP port, HTTP port is active. These two ports leave blank. RTSP port and wire, you can leave it blank. So first part is done. You have done your binding for your main server. The second part is you have to bind your recording service. Now, what is the idea behind binding? What is the reason for binding is locally in your project, you are going to use your local IP address, right? Your local IP scheme 192.168 dot something. But once you connect to Sierra, Sierra will give an IP address. Okay, and it will give an IP address to the MAC ID that is already registered for that in their portal. So that's why you're registering the MAC address of your server, and once you change your IP settings in your PC, you currently when you're doing configuration it is static IP, but later on you're going to change to DHCP so it can retrieve an IP address from the Sierra device. So in that time, the Sierra device will only give an IP if it has in its memory the MAC address of your server. Okay. So now we need to bind the remaining recorders. Once you've got the recorder list, you have to bind them as well, so they can also get IP address from Sierra portal. It's the same procedure. The only difference is before you were in VMS section, now you're going to be in a recorder section, and you will see the list of all your recorders. It could be NVRs, it could be servers. Click on MAC binding, and then put port number 4, enter the MAC address. Just remember the MAC address format should be 2 dots. Okay, so don't put dash. Some people put dash, so make it 2 dots and click save, and that's it. So how to find MAC address of your NVR? You can use many ways to get the MAC address. You can discover all your NVRs through Device Manager, which I'm using. Or if you already know the IP address of your NVR, go to the web page of the NVR. Okay. Right here I have my NVR. Double click, go to the web page, log in. Done. Click setup. Under setup, you will find system information. You have MAC addresses. Now there are so many MAC addresses. So which one, right? So the one which is connected to the viewer port. So you can find the viewer port location under the network setting. Port number 3 is your viewer port. So you can go ahead and take the MAC address of MAC address 3. Okay, and go back to system information. So you will take MAC address 3. Done. Now some NVRs don't have multiple ports, so you just have to find which one is your viewer port which you had connected. If you remember the drawing, connectivity drawing, so you have to find. So some is 3, some of them is different, 2. So once you work with our NVRs, you'll get the idea of all this. It will be similar. You'll find a pattern. Okay, so in 2-port NVR, it is always the second port. Alright, so once I have done the MAC binding, you should see success across all your recorders. So in this example, you have 4 recorders, you'll see success. MAC binding is complete. Now we are going to change your IP address, which you have, which your local IP, your private IP, you're going to change it. You're going to change it to DHCP to receive your brand new IP from Sierra. So your main SSM server, which is a Windows PC, go to Network and Sharing Center and click on your Ethernet connection, which is connected, which is the port connected to Sierra switch, and click on Properties, and you know this, you convert it to DHCP. That's all. And then once you change it to DHCP, open in the desktop, you remember the SSM Service Manager, which you got when you install the core server. Open this and then click on Network Settings, because you're going to tell your SSM server so here you can see the SSM server was talking to a different private IP address. The SSM server was talking or connecting to the cameras and NVRs or to the system through a private IP address. So you're going to change that. You're going to change that and say for the network port 1, you're going to change to the last one, 10.18.236.130, which is the IP address given by or the assigned by the VideoGuard device. So usually and always the first IP port will be ending with 130. So if you see 130, you have to go ahead and select that. So select 130. Done. Once you finish changing the IP, you need to restart the services. So you will go back to service status and it will stop itself and restart. In case you're not seeing that new IP from Sierra, what you can do is restart your PC and then go back to the same app, click network settings. You should be able to get the 130 IP. All right, done. So this is done. Now once you have changed your IP, you are now going to log into the SSM console to check whether you can log into your system with this new IP address. So you can, I'm going to close this and open console. So this is my console app. And if you remember, there is a small settings button. You need to click on the settings button. And previously it was on a private IP, so you're going to disable the private IP, or you can leave it. You can select your Sierra IP, okay, and say this is my main. If it is if it is a recording server, you can give it a name, and that's it. So then log in. Sorry, my video was in pause. Okay, so once you have logged in, looks good, right? So here you can see 130, whereas the rest of them are still in private. So the first one has been successfully changed, and when you go to configuration, you will also see the server and all the cameras with the red dot. That means they're recording and everything is fine. In case you don't see that, you will see a red color icon on the server or it's offline. That means something has gone wrong. But you will, let's hope that doesn't happen. So right now, successful so far. Now you need to do the same for other servers or other NVRs. Okay, if you have other servers, you follow this video. If you have NVR, you skip to the next slide. Okay, so let's say I have another HP server with SSM installed for recording. So I'm going to change it and then restart the services. And then I will log into SSM and check. Okay, same concept what we did before. If you have NVRs or DVRs, log into the NVR or DVR, log into that. Then go to your network settings, click Setup Network Settings Interface, and then you can change via Setup button, the viewer port, you can change it to DHCP. So but right now it is in static, so you're going to change it to DHCP. So it could be different NVRs. Some NVRs it's port 3, which we already mentioned. So in that case, you would have connected a cable. If you connect a cable, this button will be visible. Click on the setup, and then you can change to DHCP. Okay. So how that is done, I'll go back to the first one, first NVR, and click setup. Then on the top, change the mode, DHCP, scroll down, click OK. By the way, this OK is not sufficient. Once you click this OK, you see there's one more OK button at the bottom. You have to click that as well. So twice. Only then it gets saved. Okay, done. Okay, so now what we just completed is we did binding of all the servers, and we ensured they all got the IP address from the Sierra. It's usually starting from 130. The first one is 130, then 131, 32, 33, and so on. Right. So we made sure all the NVRs or all the servers, whichever we had, got the IP address. Okay. Now we go back to the Sierra portal. In Sierra portal, under the recorders, right now it can only it will only show you that okay, you have 6 recording servers here. But in your system, recording server 2 may not be the same one here. So if you notice, it is 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. So it's in a different arrangement. So you have to map it. All right. So the same method which you have done. So that's why initially you did camera name, server naming, right? R1, R2, R3. So you have to give the same number. You have to map it. So under the recording setting, click again settings, and then here you'll find device recorder count. Okay, let me play the video. So you will see a list of RS1, RS2, RS3 which you have submitted to Sira. You have to select the correct number. So if it is your first recording server, you select RS1. And if this recorder is doing, I mean, if this is, okay, ensure is recorded in VMS PCs, yes. Okay, um, this step is required if you have this setup. If you have this setup, right, where you have third-party servers you're recording. So it is also a recorder and it is also a VMS. So the first one will act like your VMS, so which is connected to Sira. So you have to make sure that particular checkbox is done. So let me put that. Assign the correct recording numbers. So you go to the recorder list. If you have NVRs, don't worry about that step. Otherwise, if you have servers, yes. Is recorder in VMS PC? Only that you need to click check. Okay. So first server, make sure it is R1. Second one should be mapped to R2 correctly. Third one, map to R3, R4, and so on. So if you notice, by default, there is no mapping done. You have to do it from your side. So here I have many recorders, but one of the recorder is the one connected to Sira device, like file 1 and file 2 is installed here. That's why I selected this as if VMS PC. But the other ones, I'm not going to do that. So I'll show you the second ones. Sorry, video was in pause again. Sorry for that. So click edit details, and then on the device recorder name, second one, device recorder name. So this is the second one. I'm going to select RS2. Okay. So this one has 121 cameras. So this detail was already submitted to Sira, so it will pull it from the site. Okay, same way you have to do for all. So this is 3, so you will do map it to third. So this has 127 cameras. Okay, done. After you have assigned the correct recorder number, then you have to map the camera numbers. I have just one more to do, or 6. Okay, done. Okay, so what did I do after this? Now I clicked on the camera button to check the camera numbering whether they are matching. Right now here you can see R1, and this is taken from the Sira side and your device. Both of them are matching. R1 is matching. That is correct. But the camera number 85, and it is not matching with the 1. So so the camera number is jumbled up. So you need to match the last 2 columns That's why there is a edit button here where you can edit the camera number. If it is 85, you have to edit here as 85. Okay. Column number 3 and column number 4 should be exactly same number. So I can give you one example where I'm going to edit. This is 11 and it should be 11 instead of 59. Now, this is where you will see surprises. If you have mapped a wrong server, you probably will get R2 instead of R1. So even the recorder will be wrongly mapped. So that in that case, you need to redo the drop down and mapping. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the next video. Okay, just a snapshot of what we've done. The first main server, if it is also recording, then you make sure this is selected. If not, you don't have to worry about this. If you have NVRs, you don't have to worry about this. Then next is make sure the channel numbers are matching. Okay, done. So far you have almost completed, just another 5%. Now we need to open the, so that part is done. Now we need to configure the uh, web service. So till now what we did is we were talking to VideoGuard user 1. VideoGuard user 1 was for live video playback. So when they pull out a specific recorder number, specific camera number, they should get the exact camera from your system. That's why we were doing all the mapping, map binding, and everything. All that was done. Now we have another VideoGuard application to send alarm data as requested by Sira. So we have a web service application and which you already installed in the as file number 2, right? So it is saved under C drive program file 86 Wisenet and VideoGuard web client. So open that file folder and the file. There is a configuration file, notepad. Okay, copy this to desktop. I believe in the latest version this is not required, but in case you can include this as an important step as well. Open with notepad. There is one small thing that we need to do. In the notepad, okay, in the notepad, minimize. You can see here endpoint address. The endpoint address currently is videoguard.ae, but in order to resolve this address, it is not possible. You have to actually put the exact IP address, right? There's no DNS to resolve, so you have to put the exact IP address of the VideoGuard, address. So in numbers. So you put that, change it from text to number, and that's it. From the desktop, move it back and replace. So this is one preliminary step which you have to do before configuring the web VideoGuard web client. So after that, open the web client application, run as administrator. I will share this slide so you can see it in a better quality. Okay, open the client, and this is the interface. You have to now enter the details. The main SSM server IP address, the port number, username and password. Right. So what is the SSM manager IP address? The first, the one which is ending with 130. 130 is the first IP address given by Sira device. So that IP address you have to enter here. It could be 10 dot something dot something dot 130. Okay. So find it out from your CMD. Copy the. Then also you need to enter the MAC. Copy the MAC. So in the CMD, it gives you dash dash. So just remove the dash, replace with dot format. Okay, I'll forward a bit. So this is my IP address ending with 130. And before you start, put the second VideoGuard username and password. Click save, play log. You might have to put the site number here, which is a project license number, and then that's it. So click start. You will receive the alarm data getting requested and transmitted to and fro. The one point which you can check is whether you get to see alarm type 5. Alarm type 5 means a recording server is online. That means it has been acknowledged by Sierra that okay, this server is online. So this you can check whether you're receiving all this detail. So after this, you can contact Sierra to verify and proceed. So alarm 5, which is okay. I will show what is alarm 5 in the VideoGuard document. It's actually not an alarm. It's just that servers online. Okay, so that is type 5. You will see this. That means it is connected. There's another way to check. In the same notepad, the VideoGuard notepad, they have a URL, program files 86 Wisenet, VideoGuard web client. There is a endpoint address, right? The same thing. Copy the entire URL, open Internet Explorer and paste it. So if you receive, if you're able to communicate, that means your configuration so far is successful and it is completed. Okay. So that is the final step and completed. There are some miscellaneous things which occasionally you might hear from our team or from the Sierra team. They might ask you to disable sending alarms to them in bulk. The reason is during your initial setup, you're adding camera, removing camera, changing settings, so many things you're doing. So a lot of alarms you're creating. And then when you connect, you're just dumping a lot of alarms to their system. So they might ask you to temporarily switch off, saving your alarms in your buffer and then pushing it. So in order to do that, you can view this video where you can edit the configuration file. By default, it is N. So you can make it, if it is Y, you can make it N. If you want to make it S, you can make it S. Okay, once the certification is complete. Then other miscellaneous step is, if we talked about time, right? Your main server, we synced to Sierra time. But you also have to sync your cameras and NVR to the Sierra time. But we are not going to ask the camera to talk to Sierra device directly. We are going to ask the camera to talk to the main SSM server. The SSM server is the point of contact between the camera and the Sierra, right? Just like your Etisalat server is providing time to your mobile phone applications, whatever calendar information, email, whatever you have, is running based on the mobile time, reminders and all that. Same way, your cameras will take time from your SSM. Your NVRs will take time from your SSM. So it is recommended that you sync your camera time. This you can attend the camera configuration training, but if you have an idea, this is just a step that it is recommended that you should do. Log into the cameras using Device Manager, click date and time, and then choose the correct time zone. Put the IP address. Do not put the local IP, which is shown in this video. You should put the serial IP of the SSM server, the one ending with .130. You have to put that IP. Okay, in the NTP, enter the IP address of the main SSM server with the VideoGuard IP. Same way for NVRs, you can go to the web page, and you can also use the device manager to do time settings, and you can also go to the web page of the DVR or NVR, and you can say time sync to that particular server. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's session, and I hope this session was very useful for you. We will continue to have a couple of more sessions till you get the full hang of it. There are a lot of steps, but it's actually simple steps. I've just tried to make it as detailed as possible so there are no confusions. Some of the points which you probably did not catch, if you probably attend 1 or 2 sessions, you might get the full hang of it. I'm recording the session. I will send it to you by email, so you can also revise it and you can practice it live when you're doing your own setup. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, give us a call, send us an email. You can also send me an email and I will get back to you.